It looks like Russia is on the run, as Ukraine just took back the entire Kyiv region. Columns of Russian armored vehicles line the highways and tank graveyards as the Ukrainian people take back this city. Could the tides of war be turning? Is Russia finally losing? What's up, guys? Mr. Obvious here. And today, I wanted to give an update on Ukraine and the situation at large with this conflict. I've noticed a lot of contradictions and a lot of lies in the media. Right now, the media is talking a lot about how Ukraine is totally winning the war because they managed to take back Kyiv. However, upon close examination, this does not actually, well, it's true, but it's sort of not relevant. Take a look at the following headlines from NPR. These were published just a few days after each other. Here it says, Russia says it will drastically reduce its troops near Kyiv. The Pentagon is doubtful. That was on March 30th, 2022. Then the new headline, Putin stoops to shocking new low in humiliating retreat from Kyiv. April 2nd, 2022. Okay, so basically, Russia says that it was going to leave Kyiv, and yet the media is trying to make it sound like Ukraine defeated Russia in Kyiv and Russians are on the run. As far as I can tell, Russia's literally just doing what it said it was going to do and pulling troops from Kyiv to regroup. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Reading the stories on it, reading the media reports, it's all bull. Ukraine didn't defeat Russia in Kyiv. The Russians decided to leave Kyiv. Now, as far as I understand it, Putin is having his army regroup, and they're planning to take the western part of the country and basically absorb their territory. Mariupol, for example, is a very important city. We have recent reports of Chechen fighters armed to the teeth with machine guns and rocket launchers basically taking over the city. It's basically complete rubble. It gives Putin access to a very important port. But we're going to talk about all this, folks. But before we do, remember to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for updates for future content. If you like the videos that I make, please share these videos with your family and friends and online. And let's just get right to it, folks. Here we are on the Daily Mail. Biden blames Putin and U.S. oil companies for the rising prices, making Americans' lives miserable. But the truth is that runaway inflation is his own fault, and a new chart decisively proves it, according to former Restaurant Empire CEO Andy Puzder. So, Mr. Puzder has come out greatly criticizing Biden, saying that it is Biden's fault that gas prices are at record highs. A new San Francisco Federal Reserve study released this week contains a chart that shows that U.S. inflation spiked in early 2021, at almost precisely the same moment that Biden signed his $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. So, Biden is trying to claim that it's not his fault that inflation has gone insane and that prices are up. But as you can see here on this chart, inflation spiked and began to skyrocket at exactly the moment that Biden released his $1.9 trillion bill. And guess what? Lately, they've been talking about a $5 trillion bill. Oh, they want to spend that money. Take a look here on Politico. Here's what's in Biden's $5.8 trillion budget proposal. This is a real story, my friends. It's one that I didn't hear anyone actually mention. Everyone was talking about Biden's tax. Oh my God, he's going to tax the rich 20% in unrealized gains. That's insane. But everyone seemed to ignore the actual amount of the budget, which was $5.8 trillion. This is absolutely insane. Think about how high inflation spiked. We went from 2% to 5% inflation, right? That was in 2021. This was after a $1.9 trillion bill. What's going to happen if even half of this proposed budget gets approved and they spend trillions of dollars? We're going to see hyperinflation in your lifetime, in my lifetime, that has never been seen before, ever. It shows you that the Democrats, not only do they have no idea what they're doing, they're literally just burning money, your tax money. Just the other day, I saw that Biden was going to send another $500 billion to Ukraine. $500 billion. They can't even build the border wall. but they could send $500 billion to Ukraine. Where's that money even going? Now, recently, Zelensky has declared that he will never back down and he will never compromise. However, he put out this absolutely insane headline, and I need people to understand. Check this out, folks. There is no outcome other than victory. Defiant Zelensky says that Ukraine will never concede Crimea or any other territory, and his people will not accept anything less than the defeat of the invading Russia. Okay, so we just gave another $500 billion to Ukraine, or we're gonna send them more, at least according to Biden. And now Zelensky, he's saying that he will never, ever commit to peace. However, more importantly, he's just said that we're never gonna give up Crimea. Crimea is literally part of Russia and has been part of Russia for the last 11 years. Crimea is not Zelensky's to give up. What is he talking about? And that's when it occurred to me. This is why I fundamentally think that Russia is going to win. Despite all the stories about, oh, Russia's out of tanks, it's out of spare parts, the military's getting blown up. Despite all that, it looks like Zelensky is determined to reject peace in any and all forms, saying that he will never concede Crimea. What are you talking about? Crimea has been a part of Russia for 11 years straight. It sounds like you're trying to start an infinite war that can never stop, an endless war. I think Zelensky is self-destructive, to say the least, and I think that he's plunging his country into a war it cannot possibly win, which will lead to much more death and much more tragedy. So here the story says that a defiant Volodymyr Zelensky says that Ukraine will never concede any territory, and his people will not accept anything less than the defeat of Russia. In a new interview with Fox News, Brett Breyer, the Ukrainian president, explained what a true victory for his war-torn country would look like. He says that besides victory, the Ukrainian people will not accept any other outcome. Yeah, I have a really bad feeling about this. Zelensky is basically rejecting peace. He's rejecting any possibility of a compromise. There's no situation, like no matter how many countries send them tanks, they're going to run out of people who can actually fight. I don't think we should be sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, especially if they're just going to use it to fund an endless war. It makes no sense. Zelensky clearly doesn't want peace, and he's going out of his way to make the situation worse. Says he wants to join NATO, says he wants to join the EU, all of which are things that Russia can literally not afford to let happen. Putin will not tolerate Ukraine that is not neutral. They need a neutral Ukraine. They need access to the ports, to the warm waters of the Black Sea. Meanwhile, he keeps telling the world to give us missiles and airplanes and tanks. Like he's so entitled. So right now, Mariupol is basically gonna be taken over by the Russians. The city is absolutely devastated. Russia is consolidating its power around the western part of Ukraine, taking the territory, getting access to an important port. And I have a feeling that they're gonna be regrouping, and we're gonna see a more concentrated effort in coming days. Here you can see on this map, these are the regions that Russia is focusing on. You see the western part of Ukraine, the Donbas region, and you can see here that with Mariupol about to fall, they have decent access to the Black Sea. And they also complete a land bridge to Crimea. It looks like Russia's going to get what it wants out of this. It really does. Because all Russia has to do is hold this territory. Heck, they literally don't even need to hold the top half. If they manage to hold the bottom half between Kyiv, Donbas, and Crimea, like all this area, I think they've won. I think that would be a strategic victory for Russia. Ultimately, I think this is the fate of Ukraine. But that, my friends, is pretty much the story. What's happening right now in the world is an unmitigated disaster. It's clear that the Democrats have no idea what they're doing. They're destroying the economy actively. The Russian ruble is already bouncing back after the world put sanctions on Russia. They went to the gold standard. They're working with China for new payment systems. Russia looks like it's actually going to come out of this whole conflict stronger in the long run. But that, my friends, is merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? Let me know by commenting down below in the comment section. As always, support the channel by joining me on Patreon or Subscribestar. This channel is supported by viewers like you. Anyways, thanks for watching, folks. Have a good one, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you all next time.